As the longest government shutdown in American history continues into its second month, American families that rely on SNAP, WIC, and Medicaid benefits are feeling the pinch as they're struggling to afford necessities like food and health care. Right now, there are 42 million people without SNAP benefits, and over 670,000 government workers are furloughed, and 730,000 more are working but not getting paid. And if the shutdown continues through December 1st, roughly 45 million paychecks will be withheld for federal civilian employees, representing roughly $21 billion in missing wages. And while the partisan finger-pointing in the other Washington goes on, air traffic controllers and TSA workers are currently working without a paycheck, affecting travel as well, as there are long lines at airports due to fewer TSA screeners and canceled and delayed flights due to air traffic controllers not coming in. And the situation is only getting worse every week, and there seems to be no end in sight as both sides won't budge on their demands. House Speaker Mike Johnson says Democrats must reopen the government before any deal is made.
Schumer and Jeffries and their colleagues fear political retribution from the far-left activists in their party more than they fear the consequences of keeping the government closed for weeks on end.
Meanwhile, some Democrats are starting to question why the government is closed. Democratic Senator John Fetterman recently told CNN's Jake Tapper that he thinks his party must own the shutdown.
And I refuse to put 42 million Americans in the kinds of food insecurity. Now, this is all is solved by just reopen our government and the people are now paid. Now, if we are the party that are fighting for working people. Now, as far as I'm aware, every single union that's involved in this is now demanding to us to reopen that. That's the side that I'm in.
I spoke to Washington's 6th Congressional District Democratic Representative Emily Randall about her thoughts on the shutdown and what she thinks needs to be done to get government back up and running again. What do you see needs to happen to get the government reopened and things working again?
I think, we heard reporting this morning from even President Trump's breakfast with Senate Republicans that the shutdown isn't good for them. They saw it in election results last night that people want the government to be open. And what that tells me is that we need Republicans to come to the table and be ready to negotiate a path forward. I've been in DC almost every week of the shutdown. I haven't gone back this week yet. I'm here in Washington State, but we've been showing up. We've been ready to negotiate. Leader Jeffries and Schumer sent a letter again to the president this morning saying, we're here, we're ready, anytime, in person, on the phone, ready to negotiate a solution. And so we need Republicans to come to the table.
I'm out here on the Olympic Peninsula, on the Washington coast, where it's very rural and we don't have a whole lot of services out here. And then there's a lot more poverty out here. Is your office getting a lot of calls from concerned people who aren't getting their SNAP benefits, about WIC, about Medicaid and Head Start? Are you getting a lot of calls and emails?
Absolutely. We are hearing from neighbors every day who are worried about how they are going to pay their bills, how they are going to feed their family, how they are going to keep a roof over their heads. We were out week before last in Aberdeen at the Grays Harbor health department's WIC office, talking to WIC providers about what they're hearing from their families that they serve. I got stopped by a young person who relies on public benefits coming out of an appointment saying, thank you for holding the line. I know that Washington State is a place where I will continue to be able to access healthcare and food assistance because it's a priority of our state's legislatures and government and members of Congress. We hear from folks who work at the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard who weren't impacted by the last 35-day shutdown under the first Trump administration because we had partially funded the government, but who are having to go to a food bank for the first time, in their lives and are grateful that it exists, but are, have all sorts of feelings about having to rely on assistance like that.
And we've seen a lot of finger pointing. Have you seen any sign of bipartisanship? Any Republicans reaching across the aisle? Has there been any of that?
There's a new proposal. I haven't read the whole thing through yet from a couple members of Republicans in the House and Democrats in the House from the Problem Solvers Caucus. I think on the ACA, it's not a shutdown solution, but an ACA extension. It didn't get the full endorsement of the whole Problem Solvers Caucus. So, they have some work to do before, it has anywhere near the votes to come across the aisle. My colleagues and I have been showing up in DC week after week and, prepared to work. I've delivered communications to Speaker Johnson's office myself. Other colleagues have done the same. I have seen a couple more members from the Republican conference on the Capitol this last week, but no one was willing to have a discussion about how to reopen the government.
How much longer do you think this can go on? We've seen 36 days. Do you see this going on another 36 days?
Well, the news out of the Republican conference call is that, this CR as written is no longer on the table because it, is through November 21st, and that doesn't feel like a reasonable path for them anymore. So they're going back to the drawing board. I think that's a perfect time for them to bring in Democratic leadership to figure out how we can get the votes we need to reopen the government as quickly as possible for the American people. Like, nobody wants us to be shut down as we are right now, as long as we have been. No family should have to worry about whether or not their SNAP benefits are going to run out before Thanksgiving.